Yeah, let's get into it. So how I 3x my agency to 100K a month in profit. First of all, big thank you to Quick Mail for actually giving me this opportunity. And yeah, guys, thank you to every
Thanks
single
for
person.
coming.
Thank you to every single person who registered and has turned up today. Yeah, I know just like myself, you guys are super busy. So yeah, it means a lot that you guys decided to turn up and kick it, come hang out, and give me the floor to speak. So on that note, I will try to respect your time and try to give you guys some actionable and relevant tips. So getting into it before, obviously I have to do the whole introduction bit. Some of you guys may or may not know me. My name is Iman Gadzhi. For the past 5.5 years, I've been running a digital marketing agency called IEG Media. Before anyone says anything, I know it's a very uninspiring name, but I thought about it in approximately 5 minutes when I was 16 years old. And I was like, my initials media makes sense. And since then, I've had long discussions with my team about we need to rebrand. And my right hand, my CMO, is like, no, I actually find it kind of cute that it's just like, it makes no sense whatsoever. We don't even do media anymore. Anyways, a little bit about how I kind of got into this world. I took a slightly unusual route in creating my agency. In that before I signed my first client, I had zero experience working for an agency or really in digital marketing. In fact, my first client was August of 2016. It was 300. Well, I'll break it down for you. It was 95 pounds a week because I thought I charged weekly because I thought it sounded cheaper. It was 95 pounds a week rather than 100 a week because I thought that would sound cheaper. So it's 380 pounds a month. That was my first retainer. And it was actually doing creative work. And it was for my youth football club at the time. So that was kind of where I started in 2018. But within 2 years, a law had changed. Now, real quick, if you guys follow the news at all now, you'll know that Kim Kardashian has a little bit on her plate right now. But in her normal times when her ex-husband isn't burying a cartoon version of her new boyfriend's head, she is a huge fan of a piece of technology called Oura Ring. Now, it's a cutting edge piece of wearable tech that tracks your sleep and your activity. And I don't actually wear mine. I only wear mine at night. I'm actually trying out the Whoop. So you guys can leave in the Zoom comments section if you're Team Oura or Team Whoop. I'm Team Oura at the moment. It's only been 3 or 4 days giving this thing a test run. But anyways, this is one of our first major clients, and it's pretty much the one that set the precedent for a lot of other clients like Kevin Rose, Iconic, et cetera, et cetera. And this was actually at the age of 18. This was my first ever 5-figure, well, actually it was substantially more than 5 figures a month. It was my first ever 5-figure a month client. So that was like fucking massive. Sorry, hopefully I can swear.
It's fine, don't worry.
Yeah, that was massive to me back then. So in 2022, I have a really, really lean team. It shocks people. I have a really, really lean team. So I have 2 full-time media buyers, a copywriter, and a video editor. And this is a screenshot of our website and some of the results we've gone for clients. And although, I mean, some of you guys may think it's impressive, some of you guys may think it's pretty bog standard. These were results from 18 months ago, so it's pretty outdated. So a little bit about me. Apart from that, in 2022, I also run the world's largest education company for agency owners. So basically, my entire life is agencies. So I've been running an agency for 5 years. I have the largest e-learning platform for agencies, and then I'm also the co-founder of an agency software. So yeah, pretty much just everything to do with agency. And like everyone in 2022, I'm about to launch an NFT collection. But before everything else, I identify as an agency owner. It's my bread and butter in a weird, nerdy way. It's the thing I get the most excited about. So I don't think there'll ever be a day wherein I'm, wake up and I'm not excited by the fact that I check my phone and there's a Stripe notification from a client paying another monthly retainer. I don't know. I think 5 years in, 8 years in, 10 years in, that never doesn't not get exciting. Anyways, without a doubt, in 2022, a successful agency is the best cash flow business of all. I've seen it having, a very large YouTube audience and stuff like that. I've even seen it with other large YouTubers who were doing drop shipping or affiliate marketing. And it's funny, the same people promoting that 4 years ago, literally all have agencies now. And that's for a reason. It is the best cash flow business. But I don't need to tell you guys. So yeah, I don't want to touch on this too much. As I said, have an e-learning platform, and we're kind of the agency experts that the agency experts come to learn from. So yeah, I've seen a lot of different case studies, and within 2 minutes of speaking to someone, I can instantly figure out what their bottleneck is in their agency. So a little bit about what we'll cover, how to actually remove friction from your agency, how to build an A team, and how to level up. Now, to illustrate the first problem, I want to show you this. And it is a very basic example of perpetual motion machine. The idea is basically that after you place the ball in the top, it should run in perpetuity. Now, without any, and they should also do that without any external input. Now, perpetual motion machines have fascinated scientists, physicians, and engineers and philosophers alike. And I think they're relevant when it comes to agencies because they're exactly what an agency should look like. All right. So you start with a bit of effort, finding a client, then that client pays you. You pay a contractor or a full-time team member, if that's the case. The contractor delivers the results and the client pays you again. And you should be able to stand there and watch this machine work in perpetuity without your input. Here's the problem. And as any engineer will tell you, these machines don't exist. All right. And as everyone watching this knows too, agencies like this don't exist. The reason for both, friction. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. You see, with a perpetual motion machine, friction caused by the ball is translated to and dissipated into heat energy. And likewise with vibrations causing sound. The result is that eventually the ball will stop popping back up. And in agencies, it looks a little bit different, but these are without a doubt the most common issues. The funny thing about this list, I should say, is that I've made it in a list of descending importance. The astonishing thing about client retention, and I've picked this up over the last 5 years, is that it almost always comes down to communication. You see, I've seen agencies get incredible results with clients who've lost them because they failed to tell them this. Okay. And agencies who don't deserve to have a single client, they salvage relationships and they have flourishing relationships because they have regular check-ins. And this, by the way, this is something, there's things that I've learned over the years as an agency owner, like that I'll give you an example. Like when it comes to communication, I was just infatuated for years and years. How do I remove myself as much as possible from my agency? How do we do less communicating than more communicating? And there's these things that sound great, right? And it's like, oh, try to systemize your agency as much as possible. And as the years go by, you start to realize these things don't actually work out in practice. I've realized, these days with my agency, I may not be the one doing it. My team may be the one doing it, but we try to over communicate, right? And as I said, that's just come down to, as I said, out of results reporting and communication is the one where we found if you get that on point, pretty much everything else falls into place. So moving on at IG Media, I said we have 3 hard and fast rules when it comes to client communication and reporting. The first is that all communication takes place via agency flow. Now, prior to this, agency flow is my software company, by the way. Prior to this, it was Slack. And that's probably something where most of you guys will be familiar with that. So the point is that everything was streamlined. That meant that no client could contact us via email or WhatsApp. And internally, our rule was that no one client could be kept waiting longer than 4 hours to respond. Now, I said, you guys can use whatever platform that you want, but to me, it is shocking. It's ghastly that some of your clients like call you, WhatsApp you, email you, like just pester you on all these different things. And the other thing that I've realized over the years is people are willing to really do whatever you want. Like people are willing to follow whatever, and clients are willing to follow whatever protocols you want, as long as the framing early on is clear as to why it's in their best interest. So, one of the things I developed 4 years ago, which has been replicated many times over since then, is a onboarding, kind of like in the same way you've got like a funnel to sell a product. We have a funnel when a client joins. So we have an onboarding funnel, and a lot of that, that process is indoctrination. So a lot of that process is video content to say, hey, here's the protocol and here's the way we do things. And the reason why we do it is to deliver you the best service. So the reason why we keep all communication on one platform, before it's Slack, now it's agency flow, is in order to get you the best, the quickest response time. Right? Because if you just say, hey, we don't do email, they might be like, okay, well, fuck you. I'm paying you $4,500 a month. Like if I want email, we'll do email. But if they understand that if they make that one change for you, I mean, you can even go to a client, you can go, yeah, we can do email if you want, but rather than a 4-hour response time, we can only guarantee you a 24-hour response time. If you're comfortable with that, we can do it. Right. And every single client will be like, okay, no, actually we'll kind of dock in and we'll pour it into your system. So that's number one. Now, the next thing is that every Thursday, clients are sent a Loom giving them an overview of the account. This takes our media buying team no longer than 5 minutes per client and gives the client an easily digestible snapshot of their account. Finally, we have our reporting system. Now, we utilize Google Data Studio to keep all reports in one place, meaning at a glance, client can see money spent on Facebook, Google, and elsewhere, as well as the return on investment. Yes, technically, a client could just open up Facebook ads and see that, but depends, I guess, your agency. At our agency, we always run multiple different platforms. So it's a nice way to sort of congregate everything in one. And yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about ensuring results in the next section. Next, let's talk about our team. Now, this photo is from a couple years ago. On the left, that's actually my media buyer and now CMO of my agency, Danny, and we're actually playing chess. You might think that I'm going to make an analogy about the importance of thinking 2 steps ahead in your business, but genuinely, all I want to show you is that I like playing chess with Danny. Like that was actually the only point of the photo, but it does kind of leeway into my next thing, which is your media buyers, contractors, team members are the heartbeat of your agency. Without them, it wouldn't exist. Okay. So this photo, I guess, technically isn't just to show you, me playing chess with Danny, my media buyer. It's to show you that I flew him from where he lives in Colombia to Iceland for a company retreat with other team members. Okay, this was a company retreat. Now, this was our first trip. And since then, we've been to Nepal, we've been to South Africa, and we've been to Dubai as a company. Now, these trips aren't, for a jolly, they're not just for fun. We often spend endless days glued to laptops together. And I remember, we even had in our rental car thing, we had like a remote 4G like Wi-Fi system. And Danny was like, working on client campaigns in the back of long Iceland trips around, around the country and stuff like that. So there's a lot of work involved on these trips, but it's also time for us to genuinely bond as a team. And the result is that in my core agency team, there are 4 team members. None have ever left. We're all good friends, and we will actually go ahead and visit each other and spend time together, across the world. The result in efficiency, I should say, is outstanding. I've seen Slack messages from one team member to another asking for a favor at 3 a.m. in someone else's time zone and watch the finished work be delivered half an hour later. I mean, it's astonishing. And because my team likes each other, they work harder. And because I like them too, going into an office, even though my office is virtual, it doesn't seem like such a daunting task. But there is more to it than that. You see, there is a massive, massive problem when it comes to agencies, because when it comes to agencies, turnover can be as high as 30% every year. But to be honest, I'm not really surprised by this, because most agencies I speak to dramatically underpay their staff and fail to communicate efficiently with them too. The result is that they're unmotivated, unwilling to work, to produce their best work, and they're looking for the earliest opportunity to leave. And staff leaving, well, that's the biggest stress of them all, because then you're put under enormous pressure to find someone to replace them quickly. And this is, I'm sure, luckily I've never experienced this, but I can imagine how, just daunting this is, having to explain to clients why they're leaving, okay, and kind of having to cover your tracks there. It's expensive too, right? With home working becoming the norm, we're in an employees market. In the same way in real estate, there's a buyer market and there's a seller market. We are in an employees market, okay, not vice versa. So you can often end up paying a premium and paying someone who is worse than their predecessor for the same, as I said, you can literally be paying more for a worse quality of work. And as I said, that's just the market that we're in right now. And that's why I'm proud to say that across the 20 or so people that work for me, between the software company, e-learning platform, and agency, there is only one person that has ever left in 5 years. Only one person. And he's begging for his role back now. And of course, there's also a flip side to this. And that is that you have to hire the very best people in the first place. And let's get into that. Now, this is actually a screenshot from one of my YouTube videos where I sit down with Danny to discuss what went into hiring our latest team member. This was a monstrous session, which took a month and saw hundreds of applicants sourced from LinkedIn, Facebook groups, Reddits, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads. There's more. There was more. I think Pinterest. Yeah, there's a few other sources I talk about in the video. They were then pre-screened, tested, interviewed, tested again, and then finally interviewed by me. And the result is that we were able to source someone who is undoubtedly one of the best media buyers in the industry and still works for me to this day. So I am going to put this slide up once again, because of the time taken to hire media buyers, my copywriter, and anyone else I work with, I have the best team in the industry. And because of the way that I treat them and the company culture we've developed, they actively enjoy their jobs. We work harder together and genuinely enjoy each other's time. This means they're able to get great results for our clients, feel valued. That's very important. One thing that most people don't talk about, and the reason I've been able to hire so well is, remember, you need out of, like, the organization needs something out of the employee. But the thing you guys never think about, or most employers never think about, is you need to be able, they need to be able to give you what you want, but you need to be able to give them what they want. And when I'm hiring, the biggest thing that I'm looking at is not talent, is not even culture fit. First thing is logistics. I'm even looking at what is their target income, and will I even be able to fulfill that? Because if they have a target income of, something that is above your budget, then what's the point? Even when it comes to logistics of like, I've asked some of the most uncomfortable questions when it comes to hiring process. Do you have a girlfriend? Do you think you're going to marry your girlfriend? Like if it's a serious, like stuff that seems like it has no place. Like I ask prospects once they get to the end of the hiring process, how much they're spending on rent. Because I want to know of how much they're making, how much is going towards rent, how much disposable income can they have, right? I try my best. I ask them, well, like, why the hell would you want to work for me? Like, you're quite clear, you're a very smart person. Like, why would you not just want to work for yourself? Why don't you just sign your own clients? Like, there's so much free YouTube content out there. Why don't you just sign your own clients? Blah, blah. Like, I ask really, really uncomfortable questions. And if they get to that point, that means that they're in it. They're in it and they have a strong reason. And yeah, as I said, they feel valued and I don't have to spend time or money finding replacements. Now, we've covered a few different points, most of which the one that's most important to me, and we can kind of touch more on this on the questions side of things, is hiring and culture. Let's talk about lead gen. All right, finding leads, sending meetings, and signing clients. This is what a typical process looks like for an agency owner. It's pretty simple to understand. The agency owner reaches out to leads they like to work with. Some of those leads respond and book meetings. Okay. The problem with this process is it's entirely one-dimensional and contingent on effort and energy. The second that outgoing line breaks, there's nothing to keep meetings booked. Let's say, for example, you run the unfortunate scenario like Jeremy, where you end up catching COVID and you're out for a few days. You're kind of fucked.
Trying my best not to sneeze.
You're kind of screwed. You got nothing. All right. So that's why you need multiple different sources, and you need these sources taking over. There are multiple different channels. You need these channels taking over. So let's look at the system we use in my agency. It's a little bit complicated, but keep an eye on the arrow towards me. There's still only one option to book a call. So a little bit about the KPIs we're looking for in my agency. We are looking to book 30. Well, I guess it depends on month and it depends on client load. So as a whole, like we're trying to book 30 demos a month. From 30 demos a month, we might cancel, let's say 6. So that's 24 demos with Danny. Of those 24 demos, we're looking to have 6 to 8 discovery calls with me. A demo is just a 15-minute demo call with Danny. He asks some question, and if they're the right fit, he'll book in a full-length discovery call with me. All right. From 6 to 8 clients, we are trying to sign 2 new clients a month. This is another big thing to keep in mind. There is such thing as signing too many clients. We've signed 5 clients. Some months we've signed 5 clients, and it's a real issue. And there's months where we signed 1 client. Right? There is such a thing as scaling too quickly. So the sweet spot that we found is 2 clients a month. That works perfectly for us. We're also in a season where we're not trying to grow. We're just trying to maintain. So yeah, 2 clients a month, that works perfect for us. Getting back onto, a lead flow and stuff like that. On that note, all outgoing lines are entirely automated. That's the main thing you'll notice. Using quick mail or another outreach tool, I can populate an email list with the use of virtual assistant. Then using the same media buyers I hire for my agency, I can set up Facebook and Google campaigns to target business owners. And the beautiful part about that is I can dial up or dial down depending on, hey, there's been situations where the first week of the month, we've signed 3 clients. And I'm like, shit, I actually don't want to sign any more clients because I want to make sure these clients are onboarded and are super happy. Or if it's been a very dry month, I can up that spend. Meanwhile, when it comes to appointment setters, they can either work, the arrangement with them can either be on a per call basis. So, let's say, for example, you pay them $250 per demo call that shows up, which is roughly what we'd be paying Facebook anyways. Or you can pay them a percentage of client revenue, upfront or, for as long as they're clients. And obviously it's in their own interest to book more calls. Finally, using my personal brand, and that's, my personal brand actually is not optimized at all to get agency clients, because it's actually sometimes can be a deterrent because it's hard to get 15K or 10K 20K billables from clients when they go on my YouTube, and it's like like you just find a contractor for $600 a month per month per client from Colombia, and then you sell the service. So it's sometimes hard to explain that, like, no, we're like that drop servicing phase, like that was us 4 years ago. We're in a very different stage right now. But still, nonetheless, it brings a little bit of credibility in. So finally, using my personal brand, as I said, Instagram and YouTube will continue to put my content in front of my audiences. They'll be most likely to engage with it. This means that when things go wrong, which inevitably they always do, you have redundancy after redundancy. So 18 months ago, I'll give you, actually, it would have been 2 years ago. I remember I was in South Africa. I was in Cape Town again 2 years ago when my Facebook account was banned. So that meant for like 8 weeks, we could not run ads for the agency, it didn't affect our lead flow that much. This is also a system that works day or night, regardless of how I'm feeling or what I'm doing. Quick mail doesn't turn off if I haven't had my morning coffee yet, and paid advertising works 24/7. Anyways, here's a perfect example of it. All right, here's a example of my personal brand in action. This is a screenshot from my Instagram analytics showing a story I put up. Actually, I think it would have been 9 months ago or a year ago, something like that, with a link to my agency case study after I just posted a few results. Now you can see 435 people click through. Now, it may not seem like a lot, but this was entirely free to post and highly, highly targeted. And as I said, because I've carefully cultivated my audience, I knew that people clicking through were most likely to engage with the case study. Now, for people looking to grow their agencies past a certain past a certain point, personal brands are an astonishingly powerful way in order to accomplish that. Now, I promise this is my last rogue reference, but I'm sure you'll forgive it being a Nietzsche one. The idea of Ubermensch, or the Superman. The idea that humanity may evolve beyond rights and wrongs and become beyond human in of itself. So when I talk about that here, though, I mean one thing: you need to be a better person. So before you roll your eyes, please hear me out. 1% increments in your personal health and performance lead to 10% or 10x results in your business. Now, I used to think that I was pretty bulletproof when I first started my business. I was young, lucky, and I could go out clubbing and still be behind my desk by 8 a.m. the next day. Then life really started happening to me. There was one specific year I can think of where I ended one relationship, had a very, very hard time. I moved houses twice. There's a lot of personal turbulence. Got into another relationship, and it's the first time in my life I've always had 10 out of 10 health. I actually became properly sick for a space of 3-4 months. Now, I'm not telling you this so you can feel sorry for me, but because this is an example of what everyone goes through. Now, I'm telling you this because what happened in my business during those months basically perfectly aligned with how I was feeling, right? The months where I had my life together were better than ever. The ones where I wasn't feeling up to work was the ones where I lost clients or even failed to sign new ones. The result was that I went hard into biohacking. I was already into biohacking, but I dialed in even further. Biohacking and detox. Now, I've always worn my Oura ring, that sleep tracking ring I showed you earlier, since they were our client and they provided the team with, or the rest of the team with free Oura rings, complimentary. But what I did was I went ahead and ramped up my spending when it comes to biohacking and detox. The device you see right here is Juve, and it projects red light, which has been shown to give extra energy to your mitochondria. This was especially helpful when I lived in London before my Dubai move. And if anyone, London is just very dreary. We'll leave it at that. Don't worry. The main thing is, I'm not going to suggest you do this. I'm just showing you. I go to extreme lengths when it comes to my health, because I've realized that you get to a point where getting to 20-30K a month with your agency it's relatively like you basically can just follow a drop servicing model where you have work with contractors on a per month per client basis, and that'll get you 20K a month. And you can basically being a 20K a month entrepreneur, it really is like for example, just using something if you dial in quick mail, right? And you have a predictable lead flow, if you just figure out how to use that and you have a good contractor, that's pretty much a 15-20K a month business. It's really, that's not difficult. Not to, detract anyone from that point, but it's what that is a party trick. To get to 50-100K a month, you can't rely on these crutches or these party tricks anymore. You have to do core, foundational work, and you really have to build up your foundation when it comes to company culture, when it comes to, actually putting really strong lead sourcing or lead flow process in place with, as I just showed you, many redundancies. Another thing is, I said, you actually have to work on yourself, as boring as that sounds. Now, to kind of drill this point home, what I do with myself and both my team, for me, I consider these non-negotiables in my team and for myself. The first thing is putting a separate budget for education. Now, even as someone who runs the largest education company, for agency owners, I still spend a small fortune every year to get advice from others and gain insight. For me these days, it's very tactical things, whether that be, becoming a Notion CRM wizard, whether that be, I really needed to dial in my appointment setter. So, spent money on that. For me, it's very tactical and tangible things. But for me, I don't consider these expenses. I don't, I consider them investments, and the ROI is very, very clear. And I've also kind of extended this out to my team. And I think this is a brilliant culture. And I love when my team sends me, when I pay out my salaries, but then there's extra, there's line items of extra expenses incurred. I love it when I see them, someone in my team spent like $137 on books that month, because I comp everyone in my team. Everyone in my team gets a Kindle. Everyone in my team has an Oura Ring, which at first I guess could be kind of creepy because I can actually see all my team's Oura Ring stats. And there have been awkward times where I see heart rates spike at like 3 a.m. in the morning, and we can kind of guess why. I remember one specific case. I remember one specific case. I had a joke with my team member. I was like, "Come on, like really on a Wednesday, you couldn't wait till the weekend." Anyways, point is, I try to make the culture at my company as nice and I try to make it as nice a working environment as humanly possible, and these are some of the ways that I do it. So that's pretty much about it. We'll roll into the questions, which I'm probably looking forward to a little bit more. As I said, to be honest, I kind of hate presentations. I'm kind of more off the cuff person. So yeah, let's roll into the questions, and hopefully you guys, have something interesting for me.
Brilliant. Can you, oh, well, you stopped sharing. Hey, awesome presentation. I really enjoyed it. So here's what we'll do. In my typical selfish type of approach, I'm going to ask the question that resonated with me, and I'd like to know a bit more. But I also give opportunity to everyone to do in the chat. I'd like you guys to do two things in the chat. The first one is to mention what really resonated with you, like what sort of the key insight did you have? So you could share it, with everyone, and that'd be helpful for us as well to sort of like summary one of the biggest takeaway of this presentation. And the second thing is ask a question if you have a question to follow up on what Iman's been saying and that hasn't been answered by his presentation. And Christian is going to compile all those questions for me to ask at the end. So quick questions I have from me. First of all, this is so funny about the name of your company. I created my company 11 years ago. I had absolutely no clue how to do, money, but I did like 15 different projects, didn't make any money with those 15 different projects. And so I thought like, okay, well, the solution is probably to go and create a company, which is absolutely stupid and silly as hell. And so I created a company with 3 people, and we called it HCG Partners. And it's like, no one gives a crap about the name of my company. It's not the name of my product. And so I never actually changed it. It was for 3 partners, and I ended up being the only one, in the company, never changed the name. So that was funny. That's just like a comment that resonated with me. Quick questions about your presentation. At some point, so you're mentioning about like the appointment setters. You pay them per show and stuff like that. But where do you actually find them? Like, do you go just to Upwork and then just grab anyone, or do you have like some better process in place for that?
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to appointment setter, like you ever seen that? I'm sure everyone remembers that scene from Wolf of Wall Street where he's like just training some of the biggest dummies on sales. And the issue or the reason he's able to do that is because it's very linear, right? Like there's like, think about like range bound, like it, like conversation kind of goes like this. Like there's really not too many curveballs that can be thrown in on the actual conversation to meeting side of things, right? Still to this day, I do not have a salesperson for my agency, even though I'm obsessed with removing myself as much as possible. And, just in full transparency, I work 3-4 hours a week on my agency. I basically just do the sales calls, onboarding call, and that's it. Like I never speak to clients ever again, really. Sometimes we'll do check-ins, new problems arise. Like for example, we end up making clients so much money that then they're like, okay, where do I actually invest it now? So sometimes I'll pop in here and there, but the reason I say this is because I don't trust anyone to do sales, because there is a lot of specialized knowledge that's involved with it, right? So for me, like the thing I haven't been able to find is someone who understands deal structure the way that I do with our clients, because we work with in the past we worked with e-commerce and info product businesses. These days it's info product. So it's like so much of like the funnel, the niche market, et cetera, et cetera. For the media buyers, it's a very specific role. There's a lot of talent out there, but of course skill is necessary. When it comes to appointment setter, it genuinely is one of those cases where you can train them up in the space of a week, and it could be anyone, right? Because as I said, it's a very sort of rigid role in the sense, like once you give people scripts and you give people a framework, they just need to follow it. And it really is a case of just volume, right? So in terms of finding these people, I don't actually recommend Upwork because I don't believe appointment setting is a full-time role. Like for example, like with us, we have enough lead flow from the ads where it is. But, you know, for most people, or even like me 3 years ago, where I just was really sloppy with my CRM, I didn't, I didn't take care of it enough. Now we congregate everything in close, and like it's, we've actually built out the processes for it. So anyways, reason I say this is because Upwork, I don't believe is a good place, because these people are used to working with multiple clients. And I just don't think for that specific role, you're going to get the best quality. The best thing that you can do is Facebook groups, your personal Facebook profile, just your circle. And just like, even if you have 1,500 people on your Instagram, right? And it's just like friends and family, just even putting that out there. Because as I said, when it comes to service delivery, like when it comes to like finding a email marketing expert or a Facebook ads expert, that's not like, maybe you might find someone in your inner circle if your inner circle is an entrepreneur or internet marketing, but like finding a appointment setter, like genuinely, I mean, from the bottom of my heart, like pretty much anyone can do it as long as their English is good, as long as like it's more like a personality thing that I found, where it's just like they need to have the tenacity, because it can be very disheartening. So it's more about finding someone with that tenacity, not so much more about skill set, because skill set can be very taught very, very easily with that.
Got it. Did you actually look at the Stratton Oak script, which is the one from Jordan Belfort?
Yeah.
It's
all the straight line stuff.
Yeah, straight line selling. Yeah, it's brilliant. Okay, cool. Other quick questions. At some point, you're mentioning about like the importance of building your own brand. Do you do that mostly for acquisition or conversion in your mind?
Well,
Or both?
Well, I mean, look, of course, it's a lead. Look, it's lead flow, but I guess here's the thing, right? It depends, right? Because the thing is, there's certain people who can attract a big audience, but then like that doesn't, like, it's kind of a conversation of like reach versus brand. Like, everyone has a brand, whether they realize it or not. And like, there's people with really good reach, so they can like reach a lot of people and they can drive a lot of new business. But that doesn't mean that their brand is compelling whatsoever, right? So the thing that I've done well, and I think like basically everything in my entire agency journey is I've just done it upside, like the other way. In sales calls, I swear. In sales calls, I swear. I genuinely talk to my clients and even prospective clients like friends. I tie in a lot of other things in my life, like what's going on in my life. So anyways, the reason I say this is because my brand is very strong when people are talking to me, because they feel as though they can relate to me in other ways outside of just business. So your personal brand does both, right? And there's some personal brands that are like really good at reach, like they have a strong reach, but they don't have a strong brand, as in like the content that they're posting doesn't necessarily entice you to want to work with them anymore, right? So as I said, with my clients, one of the big reasons they work with us, once they come in through, because the thing is, 80% of our clients are these days, 70% of our clients come in through ads, or at least that's most of the time our first touch point with them. So they kind of need to learn a little bit about me and the agency. So I try to incorporate as much as I can, my love for watches, my love for cigars, what I'm doing in my investments, et cetera, et cetera. And it kind of adds a little bit more life to both myself and my agency.
That makes total sense. Iman, another thing you mentioned toward the end, and then after that, we'll use the questions from the audience. You're mentioning about obviously the sort of like the 1% continuous improvement, which I love. Can you share with us like some of your biggest insights that you had in recent months? Like one of the things that actually is a concrete example of that, you would say?
I'd say the biggest thing is, for years and years, you have to be very rigid. Like, it's so interesting how like things are very important to do at the beginning, and then they're basically not important at all. And kind of what I mean by that, what I kind of mean by that is like, things like, I don't know, things that I thought were very important in the past. Like I was so strict before about every single morning. I would have two phones, and I guess I still technically do have two phones, but I would have two phones, and my other phone would be locked in my vault until 2 p.m. And then, because that's kind of like from 2 p.m. I would have my team calls, and then I would have sales calls. And then the morning I would just do morning focused work. And that worked for me. And then I got to a certain point where like, I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. And I've realized like let me put it this way. the guys who are making multi 6-figure and 7-figure are so anal about their like routines, like in the same way I was so anal about my routines and my like my morning routine and like making sure that I had no distractions and like everything was so specific and like just everything. And then basically when I got to 8 figures, like it's a totally different story, right? Like, and I've even found out with other people, it's like the really like the 8-9 figure entrepreneurs, they basically just don't like, they basically just like, they would like, it's funny because their morning routines are usually just wake up later. Like I used to wake up at like 5:30. Now I wake up at like 8. Right. And it's just very interesting how that changes. So in the phase you are right now, you need to build really, really strong foundations and you need to have really, really good systems and routines. And then as time goes on, because those are really like your roots and your foundation. And as time goes on, you can kind of get rid of those. But I always say like the biggest thing is like, so I do this thing monk mode. I'm in it right now. And for me, monk mode is very, very simple. It's just like all you do is no alcohol, 15 minutes a day meditation. And like, you think this sounds so easy, but like, it's just the simple stuff that has these compounding effects. No alcohol, 15 minutes meditation. And for me, I do keto, like basically, pretty much no carbs. And if I do that for like 6 months a year, I get more done in 6 months than other people do for 3 years. So the biggest thing, on that 1% better aspect, is just, for me personally, is just in terms of like the tier of things that are most important, like sleep and meditation. Like I would actually put sleep and meditation above exercise. Like if you get, like, don't ever let anyone, like, let me put it this way. If you at your stage, and especially if you're, like in my case, things are a little hectic and crazy. I've got 4 companies, which isn't a flex at all, by the way. Like I say that with disgust, not pride. Like that's not a good thing at all. Like it's really not a flex. It's terrible. You just want to focus on one thing, but whatever, as such as life had it, it kind of came my way and whatnot. So if you're not getting at least 7.5, even 9 hours of sleep with your guys' current workload, like that should be a strong indication that you are failing at what you're doing. There's no reason why you should not be getting 7.5 to 9 hours. And that's, that extra 90 minutes or that extra 3 hours of sleep compared to what you're already doing, I guarantee you that will double your output the next day. And if you're working a 7-hour day, you're actually going to get 14 hours of output or relative to what you're doing with 7 hours. So I'd say probably sleep is generally the biggest thing. Sleep and meditation. It's shocking to me how few people meditate.
Yeah, that's why you got the Aura ring, right? It's how important it is. Yeah, makes sense. Christian, did you actually put all the questions in the spreadsheet that we have, so I can go through?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So as I'm going to do that, one last question on top of that. Do you have any example? Like one thing I really love, and Christian, you can just mute or not listen to, but that's one of the next thing I want to do effectively is how do I upgrade my team with like more things, for them, whether it's, now he's laughing because he's going to be able to pitch me some courses. But what do you have some examples of how, you upgraded your team, people, skills, or like their own skills without necessarily having to change them, right? So any example of that you've done?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing with like honestly, I'd say of everything I've ever done, hiring is the best thing. And the thing is, you're just gonna like, it's such a long conversation because here's the thing: you're gonna get people who are so excited to work and learn, and that's just their natural, that's just their natural state. And then you're gonna get people who, no matter, you could give them the best courses, the most expensive courses, the most expensive training, and they don't care, right? And when it comes to hiring, you need to understand it's like the better your organization gets, the better quality talent you attract, and it just becomes this flywheel. And that's why once you've been in a certain business for years and years, it just like each year gets easier because the talent you attract gets better, and as you attract better talent, your company grows bigger, and as your company grows bigger, or like more or more respected, then you're able to attract more talent, and the cycle goes on and on. So when it comes to your existing team, the unfortunate answer is if they don't want to upgrade their skill set, you can't force them, right? And that's why I don't tell my team, hey, your budget per year is $5,000.
Go spend it.
Yeah, or I don't, like, there's people, like, I literally if my team wanted to spend $1,000 in a month on books, like someone in my team, that's within their budget. And there's people who have never even bought one book. And that's okay, right? Because, you know, for them, like they're, you know, like, and I would still consider them like the top 0.001%, because for whatever, like their role, like one I can think of specifically is my copywriter, for their role, whatever, it's just not necessary. And the books they read are just different and whatever, like, you know. So I guess the answer to your question is, if someone isn't keen to learn, then, you know, they won't. And I have people in my team where they buy courses and they even forget to expense me, just because they, like, it's just the framing of it, just they genuinely they view it as it's for themselves, and they don't even view it as like, oh, I'm doing this for the company.
Got it. Enough of me. Let's ask some questions from the live audience. We got HZen. He says, probably tactical one. How to sign your first client when you don't have any results to show yet?
So a lot of people talk about like a free trial strategy. I don't, you know, I don't agree with that. And the thing is, I think free trial is kind of like I think the biggest aha moment in agency life is when you get your first paid client. Like that's like, oh shit, someone's actually just paid me for this. And you see the Stripe wire, you know, you see the Stripe transaction hit, or, you know, the wire transfer, like whatever it may be. So for me, if you can have the best of both worlds, if you can have the ability to sign a client and feel very, because here's the other thing. Signing the first client, I'd say 70% of the issue isn't so much your inexperience of signing a client. 70% of the issue is your imposter syndrome. Like everyone knows what that is like, you know, when you're first signing your first client, or first even couple clients, you have that feeling in the pit of your stomach, like, fuck, I'm a fraud. Like you almost feel as though like the police is gonna like run in any moment and be like, you know, and like arrest you for doing something wrong. And the best thing that you can do, rather than a free trial, because you still need that experience of like, okay, someone has actually physically paid me money for my service. The best thing that you can do is a guarantee, like a money back guarantee, right? Because the thing is, even if you fail, you still have the same outcome of you haven't been paid. But if you do well and you do the thing that you say that you did, not only do you get paid, you actually manage to keep it, right? And if you don't deliver, like what? You know, no harm, right? But at least you experience that, you know, because you'll find out at the end of the 30 days, you know, your first 30 days of working together, like you at least experience that feeling of like, I just had money hit my account. Like this is insane. And once you get that feeling, like that really unlocks so many things for you. So I would say a paid trial, or some sort of like money back guarantee is by far the best way.
Yeah, love it. Idem, some sort of like similar line. Would you still price per client per month for a fully performance-based type offer? And how would you fail-proof that system in that case?
So you're saying, would I pay a contractor per month per client if we're charging fully performance?
I don't think that's necessary about the contractor, but you'd still price. I think it's more like a pricing thing. Like, is it?
Idem confirmed
performance on top.
Sorry, Jeremy. It's about a contractor. Idem confirmed in the chat.
Oh, is it? Thanks, Idem.
Okay, so I'm assuming basically the question is, would you still charge
contractor every month if you pay?
Yeah, I mean, basically, here's what you need to do. You just need to. Yes, you do, because if you are charging all your clients, like once again, like at the end of the day, you still need to take some risk, right? And that's why I personally prefer, like, in your first 5 deals, you shouldn't be doing performance, in my opinion. And you're probably in your first even 10 clients, you shouldn't be doing performance, because you shouldn't have that, like, or what you can do if you want is you can do a break even on your contractor. So let's say your contractor is charging you $750 per month per client. You do 750 plus some sort of performance fee attached to that. So that way you get the upside. And let's say there is no upside, like the client just flops, which, look, these things happen. Sometimes, you know, things just don't go in the way you want. Then at least you don't have any downside, and you've broken even, but you've had a paying client, you've paid off your contractor. You're like, fuck, I'm actually like a business owner. Like, this is crazy. So that's the way that I would do it, but never ever do purely, like, you should only, you know, purely performance is only for agency owners who are like intermediate to advanced. You should not be doing pure performance if you're, in the beginning stages.
Yeah, plus you got some history as well, so you can figure out what good performance looks like, right?
Yeah.
All right, other question from Mike. What is the number one aspect to focus on in the first 6 months of building your agency? I ask because I appreciate the balance between prospecting, cold email, ads, and so on and so on. But what would be the main focus?
Well, the only thing is, well, the only thing I would say the first 6 months, the only thing you should be focused on is 80% of the day should be spent. And by the way, 80% of the day, for some of you guys, you only have 2 hours. And for some of you guys, is your full-time gig. Like whatever your allocated time is, whether that be 8 hours or whether that be 2 hours. If it's 2 hours, then an hour and a half every single day should be spent on outreach. If it's 8 hours, then 6 hours a day should be spent on outreach. And the other, 20, 25% of the day towards the end of the day, when you're more tired and you don't have that same sort of oomph as well, that should be used to find a contractor. Because the thing is, it's probably you're probably going to find a contractor way quicker than you are get an appointment and sign a client, right? So the thing is, it's like each leapfrog. It's like, bear in mind by the time, and because the other thing to think about is your offer. Like, what is your actual offer? How are you framing your offer, et cetera, et cetera? What's your pricing? Like, there's a few things associated. It's like offer, pricing structure. And then after that comes service delivery. So the thing is, like, there's no point in worrying about like offer and service delivery when the only thing you're trying to do is get them on a meeting, right? So like, there's no point worrying about all this other stuff if you still haven't had one person hit that first checkpoint. There's no point in worrying about checkpoint 4. So it is important. And by the way, like, it's going to be very difficult for you to get on a meeting and properly pitch a client unless you're delivering the services yourself. If you're delivering the service yourself, then obviously you don't need to worry about finding a contractor, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're just at a point where you're finding a contractor, like, you're going to find a contractor sorry, what I was trying to say was, it is going to be difficult for you to hop on that meeting and with conviction sign the client if you don't have a contractor. Okay. So yes, you do need to spend time to find that person and find the, see they have great results to be like, okay, when I actually sign this client, it's going to be it's going to be a home run. But what a lot of people do is they're like, I need to do my website first. I need, like, you don't really even need a website. All you need is a domain, right? As long as you have a business domain, like, that's it. Right. And you can work on the website. Like, that can be in your, finding a contractor, working on your website, doing a little bit of, content. So that way, when people look you up, whether that be on LinkedIn, whether that be on Twitter, whether that be on Facebook, whether that be on Instagram, like, whatever platforms you think are most applicable to you and your niche, that is stuff that you can do in the 25%, rest of the 25% a day. So, I always refer back to the book Power versus Force. I'm speaking to you guys today, 5.5 years into my agency. If we were having this conversation 18 months into agency or 12 months into agency, I'd be like, yes, 80% of my time consists of outreach. Like, that is pretty much everything I do, because like, that's the most important driving force. Then you get to a point where you have a lead generation system that, is detached from yourself and works without you. And that's, what I'd consider force. And then you do that once and you dial that in, and then you have, you have fail safes and you replicate that with other lead sources as well. So, yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I think that's good. Look, Iman, we're running slightly late. Can we actually do like a fire type of rapid fire type of answer? And just for those ones, like, in theory, that should work. Best service to provide in 2022. What do you think it is?
Man, there's so many different options. So it's such a lovely.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay, NFT marketing agency, I think, is super interesting. Another thing that I was talking to a friend about is having a Discord moderation agency, because the thing is to find, like, for example, like, I mean, I have the team and my co-founder and stuff like that, but there's a lot of projects launching out there, like either NFT projects launching or just like, even, a lot of my sort of communities, I'm moving over to Discord in different businesses. And let's say there's a Discord of 50,000 people, like, I would have to have, let's say, 4 mods around the clock to do that. And I don't necessarily want to find 4 mods and train them in this and that. So let's say I would rather pay, let's say, a Discord agency $6,000 a month retainer, and that they offer me 24 around the clock, every single hour of the day, there's someone in different time zones, a moderator that has been trained, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd rather pay them $6,000 and know that they are incredible, rather than finding for myself paying $2,500. Yes, I paid $3,500 less, but I have to actively manage them, hop on team calls. So like, yeah, that's just another one, Discord moderation agency.
Love it. One quick tip on closing clients on sales calls.
80% of their mind is made before the call. So
Ooh,
yeah,
nice.
the biggest thing is what are they seeing before the call, number one, and understand. This is why I always say sales is by far my worst aspect. Like of all the things, of all the aspects of me as an entrepreneur, sales is my worst. Like I'm actually really not, I'm not that good at sales. What I'm good at is positioning. I'm good at positioning, frame, and offer. Like a large part of my, even my high ticket program, I have 15 hours of sales, like literally footage from demo call to sales call to like results of clients that we've charged like a $38,000, like literally all live, all captured, that we charge a $38,000 billable in the first month. And I say openly in all, all my sales training, like I'm not good at sales at all. I'm just really, really good at offer and framing. And you need to understand, as I said, when, there's three things that that needs to be in place. They need to, of course, want to work with you specifically. They need to believe in you. They need to believe in the service. And then the other thing is, now needs to be the right time. There have been so many things that are so important for my business that I realized later down the line and are absolute no-brainers. And I had service providers pitching me on things 3 years ago that I was so stupid to say no to. And I just shrugged off. That now I look back and I'm like an idiot, but that's the thing. I caught them at, they caught me at the wrong time. That doesn't mean that their sales process is bad. That doesn't mean that their offer was bad. That doesn't mean that I didn't need it. I needed it. Like I really I could have made so much more money, had so much less hassle in my life if I had gone with their service. They just called me at the wrong time. So just kind of understanding that, a lot of decision is made before the call. And I would say out of everything, sales is the least important thing. Far more important is framing and offer.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to send a video or some page before everyone, come on the demo call with me anymore. I love it. Same thing. One tip for client retention.
Become friends with them. Like, I've had, we've gone to like great lengths in terms of retaining our clients in the sense that, like, once again, this may not work for you. I have a lot younger demographic, and we specifically look for clients that are below the age of like 38, because I like to be able to just grab a beer. Yeah, I like to be able to grab like for us that works. It would be different if I was working, let's say, with real estate agents or chiropractors, but we've always worked with a blend of e-commerce and info-product education companies. Now we're just going exclusively for education companies. So we just have a younger demographic as a whole. So when it comes to retention, I'd say the biggest things is just having well, first of all, the big thing that we do is we do a welcome gift. So a part of our intake process is we get their actual physical personal home address. And then depending on the conversation we're having, I'll send them out stuff. Like, I'll give you some example. Like I have clients that do keto, and like when you do keto, it's really important to like get more salt than normal, like more electrolytes. So I send them out like my favorite electrolyte packet. I've had clients where we bond over watches. Now I'm not going to get them, I'm not going to give them
a Rolex.
I'm not going to give them one of my Pateks or my Richard Mille or like one of those watches. But I have a lot of favorite watches that are like in the $100 to $150 price range. And look, for me, for a client that's just spent, like our average retainers are like $8,000, between $7,000 to $8,000, between like the low base ones where we have really high minimums, and then some of the ones which are like, more like the star clients. But usually, that's just super quick side note. There is something as like the biggest issue with an agency is charging too little and charging too much. Or I don't mean charging, I mean billing. Because we always know without a fail, no matter how aggressively, like no matter how good a deal it is for the client or how much money we're making client, and I'm talking about performance deals here. I'm not talking about retainers. I'm talking performance deals where we're only getting paid what we bring them. No matter how much money we're making them, without a doubt, the second it goes above $15,000 a month, even if we've genuinely made this client $500,000 in return, like in return on ad spend, and they got the sweetest deal ever. The second it goes above 15,000, there's always that conversation. We're looking to bring it in-house, blah, blah, this, that. So as I said, the reason I said that is because we've got our lower base, which are longer minimums, and then we've got our star-studded clients. But a blended average between them would be around $8,000 a month. So if we're getting paid $8K a month, I don't mind paying $100, or sometimes we spend even up to like $500 for the welcome gift. I've sent a lot of Oura rings to clients. Like it's all based on that first onboarding call. Like I don't want to send them something that just like is generic. Like I want to do something based on what was our interest, what do we talk about, and then outside of that, I mean, this is a little bit later down the line, so you guys don't need to worry about it now. But if some of you guys maybe have assistants, like star-studded assistants, you'll be shocked. I mean, even me, like up until a year and a half ago, I didn't even have like a real assistant. I'm not talking like a virtual assistant. I mean, like a really, really good like executive assistant, really knows what they're doing. So because I have that, sometimes clients will mention to me, like I had one client that couldn't get hands, we were talking about on one of the onboarding calls, they couldn't get their hands on a concert ticket. So I got my assistant, Amara, to arrange that for them. And that has been one of our longest standing clients. I got her to arrange 2 tickets, one for him and his wife. So just things like that.
Brilliant. Last question, because it seems to be pretty popular. Are Facebook ads still worth doing?
Depends on niche and market, right? So like example, if we have an education company that comes to us, it doesn't matter. Like we've even had education companies that are doing $700,000 a month and are without a question, because obviously the margins on or the way that most people run education companies is very, very high. And it literally does not matter to me that I could charge a $15,000 a month base retainer, 6-month minimum. They wouldn't even bat an eye. I will not accept these clients because they are English speaking. They are English speaking BizOp offers, like how to start an online business, blah, blah, like obviously different ways to accomplish that in the English market. Now, if that same client comes to me and they're in the Italian market, I can make that work because the Italian market hasn't been as saturated and inundated. In the same way, the things that work in, that don't work anymore in the US real estate market, like realtor market, may work in some parts of Europe, right? Or even Australia. Okay. So it really is an understanding, like for us, we pretty much don't run any cold ads on Facebook anymore for our English speaking education companies, unless it's a different niche where they've never seen, like they're not as familiar of like a case study or even a tripwire funnel, or like, obviously they don't see that on the front end, but like these are the sort of funnels we're running. Like I'll give you an example. Like we have a client that's been with us for almost 2 years now that does twin flame coaching, like helps you find your twin flame, right? And this company, we do like every single month, like without fail, with basically zero effort, $70,000 to $100,000 a month return on ad spend, and obviously info product business, so 100% margins, basically profit.
Nice.
And for them, we run Facebook ads and no issues, because it's the people we're running ads to aren't 18 to 32, just been slammed for years and years with Facebook ads, right? To like some sort of free training webinar, a free plus shipping funnel, this, that, et cetera, et cetera. So the question isn't whether Facebook ads works or not. Like we have a Finnish client that we run only Facebook ads for, right? And he does fitness products. And by the way, like the fitness niche is so oversaturated. Facebook ads are so oversaturated, yet it works because it's in Finland. So there is no clear-cut answer ever of does one thing work, does one thing not work, et cetera, et cetera. It is all entirely based on niche. How inundated has the niche been with the traffic source and funnel, or not the traffic source and conversion process that you're putting in front of them, number one, and the market, as in like what country are they in? Because some countries that you can have 2 identical things, and in one country it will work perfectly, and in the other, you'll be burning money. So,
okay, love it. So, Iman, I want to be respectful of your time. If people want to know more about you or what you have to offer in terms of courses and learning and education, what would they need to do?
So, I mean, honestly, like I'd say probably just the best thing, just look on my YouTube. I've got a bunch of free content there. Obviously my team knew I was doing this presentation. They told me, promote some of our stuff, but
yeah, do it.
Do it. No, honestly, I would prefer just
know.
no, I would honestly prefer just check out my YouTube. You'll find a bunch of stuff there, especially my extended channel. So my my main YouTube is kind of more, I share a lot more of my investment stuff and business and general stuff. On Extended, we're about to like give it a full revamp. So Iman Gadzhi Extended, that's where I have student interviews from CPA, which is my higher ticket program where we take, you know, agency owners from 5K a month, 10K a month, and get them to 100K a month profit. And then not only that, but then show them how to invest it. You know, basically, I'm sure some of you guys in here may know my story is, you know, I made a few million from my agency and I turned it into over 8 figures from investments in the last 18 months. So I'm currently sitting on anywhere, depending on the day, anywhere from 10 to 12 million dollars after tax net. So yeah, as I said, like you can look at my main YouTube channel for some of the more investment, you know, lifestyle or like habits and you know, finance stuff. And then if you want really just specific agency stuff, go check out Iman Gadzhi Extended. We're kind of giving it a facelift again, and we're going to be uploading a lot more very agency nitty gritty stuff on there in the rest of the year.